Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of the insiDE Sports Podcast. That's, of course, with the DE capitalized. I'm your host, Cole. This is my co-host, Joey. Jordan, unfortunately, could not make it today. He was feeling under the weather. But nevertheless, we still have a really packed episode for you guys. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So to catch you up on women's basketball, we got our first win of the season versus Lehigh in the Christmas City Classic. So that has to feel really good. We lost in the championship game against Kent State. Not to say that it's expected, but we know that this year's team is still in a really big reboot right now, essentially. We're sitting at 1-5. It's good that we got our first win. We looked all right in the win, However, it's been a little rough. This week we're going to be back home versus Chicago State, and they're 0-7, so there's a chance that we get some real momentum here if we win that one. But you'd like to see a lot more scoring from this year's team, and we're still kind of waiting for that one person, like Kiara Love. I think a lot of people thought Kiara Love was going to be the person to take it to the next level because she was a starter on last year's team. Obviously, she had a couple of really good games, but it's just not really picking up right now, and it's not like that for a lot of the girls on the team. So you have to hope that they'll get this win and get some momentum, but nevertheless, in a non-offensive way, don't expect a whole lot from this year's team. It's a really big rebuild.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty tough task for pretty much anybody in the situation that KBW is in right now, and just with the team in general being so new. We've been talking about it already so much, but specifically with Q, I think they're moving in another direction where I don't understand why they're not giving her as much play time or just more opportunities to score. But I think they could utilize her speed just to get up to the basket and everything. I mean, she's a threat, and I don't understand why they're not using her as much. But nevertheless, we have some weapons that we can use, kind of like Q. Jaden Mason, she's a freshman. She can get to the basket so quick. She gets a lot of steals and blocks as well. A lot of fast breaks and everything. Some offensive weapons are there, like Ashley Jones, Tierney Brown. Tierney Brown might be the best overall player on the team. We scored 87 points in that win against Lehigh. I think that's the most we scored this year, at least.
Yeah,
just
that's for sure.
in the start. But we can score points. Well, we have opportunities to score points. It's just our shooting is utterly.
I see that you wrote here. We have the second worst shooting percentage in the conference at 37%.
Yeah,
that's not good. You got to improve on that. But granted, that's just when it comes to shooting and stuff. It's just a slump thing, and it's probably just working out a lot of the kinks. I'm trying to stay on the positive side. I'm not going to call it doomsday or whatever, just because I think that we've seen such a revitalization of a lot of the SIU teams, and so I am more positive than maybe I was when you asked me last year, because we had some teams that really couldn't get it done. But I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we just need to be better. I think that there's some things that we still really need to work on, but it's a long season, And then we have men's basketball. This one you can feel a little better about. We got the SoCal Challenge, which we had this past week, and we lost to UNLV. I don't want to say that's okay, because we beat a really good team like Oklahoma State, and I don't really expect a whole lot from this year's UNLV team.
Right.
But nevertheless, it's a big program. Obviously, there's some history. But then we beat Cal Baptist in overtime, thanks to Marcus Damas taking it over. He was awesome. He had 32 points versus Cal Baptist and 21 versus UNLV. Very deservedly won the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Week. He was awesome.
He's a stud.
Yeah, for sure. So I remember calling out when we had our last episode 2 weeks ago, hey, where's Cade Hornecker? I want to see Cade. We finally got to see Cade. It's good. There's not a whole lot there, being a freshman and stuff, but there's a lot of promise that you can see, and that's really exciting. So we're currently sitting at 4-2 overall. We're on the road versus Evansville for the first Missouri Valley Conference game on Wednesday, and then we're at St. Louis on Saturday, and that one's going to be a tough one. This year's St. Louis team is very good. But
and the Dog Pound, I know, is going to be end up
that is
I'll
true.
Be there with the Dog Pound when
that
I sign
up
later today.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Cade Hornecker. I do want to see a little bit more from him. Just play time, I guess.
Yeah.
He's only getting about 6 minutes.
You want to figure him out,
I just want to see more from him because I know what he can be with this Saluki team in a couple of years. I'm just excited about him is all. But something else I just want to bring up. Lance Jones, I don't really know where his shooting ability went this year, specifically from the 3-point line. I think he only made one in that last game in overtime against Cal Baptist. And then I don't think he made a single 3-pointer against UNLV. So I know that's a tough team, but he just hasn't been where he used to be this year so far. I'd like to think that's just a slump to start the year, but we'll see. I don't want us to get too reliant on Damask. Because I don't know if he has that ability to do that for the long stretch of the season and everything, that stamina and everything like that. So just don't get too dependent on Damask, and I think we should be all right.
I love those last 2 points you made, because with Lance, a lot of the time, I think Lance is a really, really great player, but it's clear that sometimes it's kind of a roller coaster at times with him, and sometimes, the shots aren't falling, but I try to remember, like the Oklahoma State game, the reason we got back into the game was because of Lance and his abilities to make plays, not just making 3-pointers and making layups and stuff, but because of his passing ability, and he just made plays all over the court. I remember the first home game. I'm pretty sure he made like 5 straight threes, And so you're going to get that with Lance, and I completely agree, though. It would have been nice to really kind of have that during the SoCal Challenge, but maybe it was the travel, maybe it's the air down there, who knows. And then that second point with the Damask situation, I really, really like what you said here, because that's right. I mean, a lot of the really, really good teams don't just rely on one guy. And at times, I feel like SIU can be dependent on Damask. And he's a very good player. There's nothing wrong with depending on him, especially in late-game situations. But nevertheless, when you do that, you become predictable. It's a lot like, this is a drastic, how do I say, exaggeration of it, but Luka Doncic on the Mavericks, Like, you look at a situation like that, and it's like everybody knows Luka is going to be doing X, and Luka is going to have the ball. So I'm really happy he's having the stretch, but I'm worried about what possibly future implications can be. Nevertheless, just be happy. We're sitting at 4-2. We have some really, really good wins. So that'll be enough. Now next, for Saluki Space, we get the opportunity to talk to Saluki Shaker Chloe Day and cheerleader Abbie Clemens. So we're going to go ahead and go to that now. Hello everyone. Welcome to our Saluki Space episode with cheerleader Abbie Clemens, senior, right? I mean that right? Okay. And then sophomore Saluki Shaker Chloe Day. And so we're just going to go ahead and jump right into the questions. Put it all on the table. Who's the best dancer / cheerleader on the teams? It's okay if you say yourselves. Go ahead and do it.
The best?
The best. Who is it definitively right now?
Oh, I don't know.
There's got to be one.
There's got to be somebody
in your mind.
Who's good? Who are you friends with that's good? Just give them a shout out.
Serena and Ashley.
Alrighty. Do you have any cheerleaders you'd like to shout out?
Haley and Micah.
Alrighty. And there you go. See? Easy answer. So, obviously, knowing you guys pretty well, I see that you guys are constantly on TikTok and make a lot of TikToks together. Who do you think's the most active on both of your respective teams? Like, Abbie, is
Ashley.
it? Okay, I was gonna say, because Ashley and Abbie seem like they're usually making a lot of them, so I'm pretty sure the crown goes to you guys, but I wanted to make sure. And then...
So, who's the funniest on either one of your teams, too?
Serena.
Serena is hilarious. She's like so subtly funny. Like everything she says is so just monotone, but it's so funny. Like I don't even know how to explain it. She's
Everything
hilarious.
she says is funny. Like
Yeah.
she never just says anything that you just like sit there.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. And then either you guys have a dream vacation spot. You get one vacation, you get one trip for a week. Where do you want to go?
Fiji.
That's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good
I
answer.
want to go to Thailand.
Thailand.
What's in Thailand?
I was not expecting to hear Thailand. I'm going to
know.
be honest.
I don't know. I want to go there.
That's it? There's
I
there's
just
no
think
like-
why TikToks,
Okay.
but it looks really pretty. I don't know.
Okay.
So I mentioned like who's the funniest on like either one of your teams before. I was just kind of wondering, do you have any like funny stories, I guess, from like routines that you have like tried doing but like just maybe not have worked out the best, or like I just wonder if somebody like fell during like a flip or something sometime that just like sticks in your mind.
Yeah.
So
Okay, well, it was one time during starting lineup, so we like stunt, the cheerleaders do. and we were doing a stunt that our flyer didn't necessarily like. So like every time we do it, she like panics, and she decided that she was coming down, and she came down and took me to the ground in front of all these people, like to the ground. I like slammed into the starting lineup. And she slams into the ground on top of me, and then the other base on the other side comes on top of me too. It's really embarrassing.
You're at the bottom of a pile up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time like practice when you've like screwed up the air? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you do it like an aerial, right? Like that's part of the routine. Sometimes have you ever like screwed that up and then just face planted on the floor?
No, perfect.
Oh really? All right. Sydney Totsky. I've talked to her before. Your guys' weird coaching situation going on right now. Is that also your coach too? Because I know it's the Saluki Shaker coach.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you give us anything on the situation? Kind of what's going on? How is that being handled within the program?
I don't think we're allowed to talk about it, but we have GAs and volunteers right now. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, so for those who don't know, they see a lot of the athletes and stuff. But you guys, it's not that you guys are in the background, but, well, you can say that. But, you guys probably aren't, like, propped up as much as some of the other sports. So take us through, like, a day in your life as, like, a shaker and then also as a cheerleader. Like, what time you guys have practice? What does practice usually consist of? All that type of stuff.
You want to go first?
You got it.
So both teams practice 3 times a week. Like 6 to 9 usually. We usually have to practice later because that's when basketball and stuff is done. And then if basketball is still there, we'll like go upstairs and practice in the pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get the court. Just depends.
Yeah.
Very rare.
And
It happens though.
Yeah.
go to school, practice, and
Nice.
if we have games, we go to games.
Nice. And do you guys practice together? Like,
Only
is it
one day a week.
okay? Only
Twice.
one day.
Twice a week, right? Wednesday and Friday?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, twice a week.
twice.
And
Okay.
we have a practice on our own.
Got you. And I mean, you said yours is 6 to 9. Is yours like a different time or something?
Mine's 5 to 8.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. So yeah.
So I guess I don't think some people like kind of realize like everything that just like goes into like the dancing team and the cheer team with all the practices and everything, and how agile you guys have to be with all your schedules. And some people are even as like crazy to say that it's like not a sport even. I just want to know like what would you guys say to like those people that have that opinion, I guess.
Honestly, okay, it's a sport. It's just like a different kind of sport. Obviously, we're not like hitting people and like dribbling a ball, throwing the ball, that kind of thing. But like, I'll let her speak on dance's behalf. But like cheer, it's like extremely physical. Like I just got my shit rocked yesterday at practice and had like a gigantic bump on my head just from stunting, and like stunting's really hard, a lot harder than you would think it would be. And then obviously like you tumble, so that's pretty physical, pretty a lot of wear and tear on your body and stuff like that. But it's just a different kind of sport. And I think that's why people like say it's not a sport, because like
You can't really compare it to anything else.
Yeah.
But like with dancing, it's super technical. There's a lot of technique that goes into it that you've learned probably since you were 3 years old, growing up dancing. That's about it. I don't know.
It's hard to explain.
It's we put in a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it is frustrating when it's unappreciated. But
Gotcha. Do you guys have a favorite season that you guys like to perform in? Whether it be basketball? Yeah. Is it why? Like
inside,
I guess
It's
that
inside.
that definitely factors.
You're
in.
not like sweating or like freezing, and the
Yeah.
games are shorter, so it's not like as hard on your body. It's like football. You're standing for so long.
Oh yeah.
and,
No,
like,
even as a fan
you got-
sitting in the stands. It's
Yeah.
like, when it's hot outside, it's
Exactly.
be ready. You gotta be ready for those 4
in the
hours.
arena it like feels smaller, so I feel like there's a lot more people there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's also something. Yeah.
The environment is like, I feel like in basketball the environment's so much more hype, like all through the season. You know,
I agree.
football like it starts out super like, yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's like halfway through
but then
nobody
breaks
comes anymore.
start.
Yeah.
And it's just
Well, it's hard to be excited in the cold and everything
Right.
later in the season. But,
Exactly.
kind of going off of that, do you do a lot of the same routines for both sports, or is it kind of a different? No.
For dance, since we do like more turns and leaps, we leave more of those routines for on the court. because it's easier. It's harder to turn and jump and get all over the ground on turf.
Right.
So we save most of like the more technical routines for basketball, and like the more like pom and hip hop for football. But some of them we do for both.
I think I was confused by the question. Are you asking if we do them together? Like shakers and cheerleaders do them together?
No, I just mean like, do you do kind of the same routine?
Oh, for both
football?
seasons.
Yeah, and for basketball.
Yeah.
We get halftime. They don't really.
Yeah,
like,
we don't really
Yeah.
do halftime. The only time cheer really does like a routine is for the MVC tournament, and then I think isn't that about it?
Yeah, and then we did some quarter breaks during football together.
Yeah. So it's like we'll have like routines where we come together and do it, like all of us.
Gotcha.
And like cheer will stunt while they're doing like their little leaps and turns and stuff.
Right.
I can't do that.
And then do you just have like a favorite routine, I guess, or like cheer?
TNT.
Yeah, that's good.
I like that one. Or Taki Taki.
That's good too.
Yeah.
What are those like?
TNT is a pom routine.
Is there like a specific song that's usually played
TNT.
to? Oh, is that okay?
Yeah. Do you know the
More
song?
on-
Should we
You know
sing
the
it to you?
Yeah, sing it. Sing it real quick.
TNT.
TNT.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I don't know why. All right. Well,
And then
cut
Taki
that.
Taki is like a hip hop.
Do you guys feel like it's tough to balance your responsibilities within the SIU program along with, the stuff that you have to do for school? Like, it's always propped up that, it's got to be hard for the basketball players because they have to go through a lot of practice. It must be hard for the football players. It must be hard for the volleyball players because there's just so much pressure, not only in their classes, but also within their specific organizations. And like Joey alluded to earlier with his question, some people just say, cheerleading and dancing. It's not a sport. Do you feel like you have to find a healthy balance in order to get every single thing that you kind of want to get out of school during your 4 years here?
I feel like I don't remember what you guys said earlier, but kind of like how we're treated a little different, like maybe in the background. So like, obviously we're not on scholarship, so like all of us have to work. I mean, not all of us, but a lot of us have to work. So having a job and then practicing as much as we do and then having all the games that we do gets really difficult, like with schoolwork, especially like I do a lot of group projects for my classes and stuff. So that gets really hard because most of the time I'm in groups with like other athletes, but they have like better practice schedules because they get the ideal times, and then like registration, we don't get to register early like all the other athletes do.
We don't have the same benefits.
Yeah, like we don't have any of that, so we don't really get like the ideal class schedule, whereas most athletes do.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're regular students, sometimes we're athletes.
Yeah,
sometimes we're
it's kind of like
whatever they
between
want.
that.
We're never.
Yeah.
But do you feel like you've kind of found that balance in a way, like personally, or just?
Can you still do some of your favorite hobbies?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning it's hard, like especially adjusting between the semesters to a new schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you have to find somewhere to work that is flexible, but
Right.
you get used to it after a while, and you know how to manage your time.
Right.
So.
And like, why did you guys become? Well, I kind of know why you became a shaker, and you can tell the audience that because they definitely want to hear that. But like, why did you want to become a cheerleader here? Like, I assume you cheerleaded in high school.
Yeah.
But like, what was that process like of you going like, well, like I kind of want to do this, when I get to school too.
Yeah, so I danced like a long time of my life. A long time of my life, that made no sense, but for like a majority of my life. And then I started cheering when I was like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11. And then I cheered all the way through until high school. And then my freshman year of college, I was going to go here, but then I decided to go to community college. And they had taken cheer away. But I was going to go there and like have a full scholarship at the community college. But then they like cut cheerleading or whatever. So then it was time for me to graduate community college, and I was like, all right, do I want to do it? And then I ended up emailing Sydney, and I was like, hey, I know the tryout passed, but is there any way I can do like virtual tryouts? So she let me. I like sent her all these videos of me doing cheer things.
So when you graduated community college, was that like COVID time, and so it was like weird to like get together or something, or is that just typically how it goes through virtually?
No, it's an in-person tryout. So this is embarrassing, but it took me 3 years to graduate community college because I changed my major like 3 times.
That's
but
fine. Yeah, that's
so
fine.
it took me a little while. But I graduated in May, and that's why I officially decided I was coming to SIU. So that's why I like didn't come to the actual tryout. Mm-hmm. But no, it's not usually virtual. Like it's like a whole clinic thing. I don't know, what is it, 3 days?
Yeah, it was like a whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were on the same team at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's technically spirit teams.
Yeah.
But then you go to like your designated side. That sounds bad.
That makes sense. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Why did you want to be a shaker?
So for me, I've danced since I can remember, and then I took a break, and then when I was in junior high, I started dancing again. And then my studio closed. It was my senior year of high school, and it closed because of COVID or whatever. And then I just like really started to miss it. Like I tried other sports in high school, like probably tried out for like 4 different sports that year. I was like, no, like none of that is my thing, and then I just really missed dance. And my family encouraged me to do it. They're like, why not? So I was like, okay. So that's kind of just the reason that I came here.
Yeah.
So just thinking back to when you came here, both of you, what's like the biggest difference between when you first started to now in terms of like just you being a cheerleader, you being a shaker? What's just the biggest difference, I guess, now with experience?
I feel like coming in, it's a little intimidating. Obviously, I mean, anytime you come in and do some work, it's going to be a little intimidating. But now it's like, obviously our team's been through a lot, so we've kind of had to like step up and be leaders, because we do have a lot of new people this year. Like there's not a lot of returners. So it's kind of like all us returners have kind of stepped up and taken on the leadership role of like, you know, helping the rookies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure in the world of dance and cheer. I feel like, you know, you got to make sure that you're in sync with the other dancers / cheerleaders. You know, you always obviously talked about how hard like stunting is because it's kind of a group effort. You always need to be smiling. That's for sure. You always got to be energetic, even when you know it's a little hard to be energetic sometimes. Basically, when you're out there and when you're dancing, when you're doing all of that, both of you seems like you guys have done that all your life. But is it still a little bit hard every time you have to go out there and perform a routine? Do you ever feel that pressure, or do coaches potentially add to that pressure, or do they do anything that maybe takes it away for you guys?
I think now it's more fun for me at least to perform. Like that's the most exciting thing. I don't really get nervous anymore.
Gotcha.
I've been so used to like a stage in front of a bunch of people that like the arena doesn't feel like anything to me. But that's just me. I feel like our GA now, she just wants us to have fun.
Yeah.
I don't think she adds any more like you need to be perfect. No, I mean everybody makes mistakes.
I was gonna say like our staff now, they're like very encouraging, like at practice and at games, and like she said, like they just want us to truly enjoy ourselves rather than like feel so nervous anytime we do anything. So that's helpful to have supportive people.
Yeah.
And in the dance world, it's like no one knows what you're supposed to do. So if you just smile and you do something else, no one's gonna know.
Yeah.
Except yourself. So.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
That's how I think of it.
Yeah, I can see that.
So we've been kind of alluding to it, just talking about smiling and remaining like positive throughout the whole time. Sometimes that can be kind of like awkward a little bit when, let's say, 2 instances that I'm thinking of, if the team that we're cheering for that day is just getting blown out, it's just super weird trying to remain happy during the game when we're obviously losing pretty badly, or if you're just having a bad day. Just what's that like, just trying to put that smile on your face whenever like it's just weird or you just don't really feel like it that day?
You just have to remember that your job is to hype up the crowd. That's what you're there to do. So you kind of get used to it. Like, I could have a terrible day, but then I have a game. And dance is like my happy place. So I'm not thinking about my bad day when I'm there. Like, if I'm at a game, I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah.
So it's easier to be happy.
Right. The environment at games kind of makes it impossible to be mad or, like, upset. Like, it kind of just, if you're having a bad day, it kind of turns your day around.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, all these people are, like, so happy. Guess I'll be happy, too.
Yeah.
That's great.
Would either of you want to ever dance/cheer professionally, like after college?
We've
Like,
talked about this.
We have, but I want to know, and especially Abbie. I mean, I haven't talked about it with you before.
Yeah.
You're a senior right now. Would it ever be something that even you just consider for a second, or is that you're like, nah?
So, that's funny you asked that, because I obviously went home for Thanksgiving break, and one of my best friends at home, she's like, I've been telling everybody you're a Cowboys cheerleader. And I was like, why are you telling people that? And she's like, because they believe it, and it's so funny. And I'm like, maybe I should, like, actually try out for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You might as well try out. You know?
Right. I'm moving to Texas, and I was like, maybe I'll just do it. But, okay, professional cheerleading is not like college and high school and competitive cheerleading.
That's
they don't
true.
stunt and they don't tumble, like, they just dance.
That's true.
Which is like, they dance like pommy. So, I don't know. I don't know if they turn. Did they turn? If they turn, count me out.
Yeah. It depends what team.
Yeah. So, like, I guess the Cowboys cheerleaders,
They're more dancey.
they're dancey. Like,
Mhm.
very palm dancey type of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I could probably do it. But their Cowboys cheerleading is intense.
Yeah. No,
Real
it
intense.
definitely seems like an intense environment and stuff. But would you want to go to it, Chloe?
Me and Ashley have talked about this, like, ever since we've been on the team together. I think it would be fun, like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't make it, whatever. You move on.
Exactly.
Like, you have a degree, you can go do whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much they get paid, either.
Something
they
to
have,
consider.
like, a bunch of requirements. Like, one time I read on one of the teams, you're not allowed to have bangs. I was like,
That's a problem for you.
right, that's a problem
off the
for me.
bat.
Or, like, tattoos or piercings, like, it depends.
Hmm.
I don't know.
That's another thing. They're like that with the Cowboys, too. They tell you what color you dye your hair.
Isn't that crazy?
You don't get to choose. They tell you.
That's pretty crazy. You
It's
guys
crazy.
can do it.
We'll think
Good
about
stuff.
it.
Yeah. Are you up for the challenge or not, girls? Yeah. Alrighty. So, last question for any of our listeners: if they would ever want to join Spirit teams, how would they do so? Could you let us in?
The form, I think, online.
Okay. It's just like a website.
Yeah, so, like, if you go on, like, SIU athletics page, we're on there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to that, and then there's, like, a form you fill out. I think, if it's still the same. And then tryouts are in, like, what, April?
Yeah, it's like April. We also have, like, Instagram.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
DM one of the Instagrams. I know they work now.
Or, like, even one of the
Does
people
that
on the team.
form go through your coach? Kind of weird.
See, I don't know who it
situation,
goes through now.
but- Yeah.
I'm not really
okay,
sure.
if you want to join the team, you can DM us.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
There
that's
you go.
probably the best.
Someone-
Yeah.
DM them. There you go.
Or our Instagram. We have Spirit Team's Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. This has been Saluki Space. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back with the Told You So segment. Alrighty. This is a great one because I did tell you so, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just catch it up with 2 weeks ago. Montana at Montana State. I was correct. Montana State won. USC versus at UCLA. I picked UCLA because I thought they were a good matchup. Nope. Caleb Williams has arrived. Once again, getting ahead of myself.
Proved you wrong.
Once again, getting ahead of myself. But, and then number 10 Utah at number 12 Oregon at the time. I was correct about Oregon coming away with the win. So that means I am sitting at 24-18, and I have roughly a 57% correct pick percentage CPP.
On the rise.
Listen, buddy, listen.
Yes.
I don't trust your stats right now. So for this week, we have a really, really awesome conference championship week, and I'm really excited because it has real impactful playoff implications. You know, we have two teams in the playoff that I love, but could also lose, and I don't want them to lose. I really don't, because then that means Ohio State and Alabama have another shot at their sitting at the 5 and 6 spot. But that's another thing we can talk about later. So let's just pick the game, shall we? Number 12 Utah versus number 4 USC on Friday. This is going to be a good one. It's a rematch of USC's only loss of the year at Utah in a really, really close one. And because it was at Utah, you would think, now that it's on a neutral site, I kind of want to go with USC, and I really do like this USC team. I'm a big Caleb Williams fan. I can't believe I'm saying that about a former Oklahoma quarterback, but once he kicked Oklahoma's ass last year, that's when I was like, all right, this guy is the real deal, Holyfield.
So is that why you wrote down here, even though I don't want it to happen?
Well, this is the perfect Utah spot. Like this is classic Utah. USC's riding right now. Caleb Williams, everybody's picking him for the Heisman. He's now the Heisman favorite easily, and it's gonna come down to, actually, we're Mr. Consistent Utah, Mr. Consistent Kyle Whittingham. We're gonna come out here and we're gonna ball and we're gonna ruin USC's playoff chances. So I'm actually going to go with Utah, the upset again, because it's almost too perfect. I feel weird not picking it, even though they're the underdog, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say I'm not rooting for this, but I can see it happening. I'd be happy to be wrong about this.
Next for the upset. Wow.
I know. And then next one is number 13 Kansas State versus number 3 TCU. Once again, I've been very adamant about my admiration for Kansas State this year. That being said, I've also been very adamant about my love for TCU this year. And I think it's hilarious that they fire Gary Patterson and then TCU makes the playoff, because I think that's just such a funny situation that he was like this legendary coach there for forever, and then they just bring in Sonny Dykes, and it's like, first year with a backup quarterback. I mean, Max Duggan wasn't the starter to start the year. That being said, I love his story. Are you familiar with it? I guess I should say it on the pod. Yeah. I don't know if I ever really told this story of like Max Duggan, but now hopefully all these details are correct. I'm going off of memory right now, but Max Duggan, during the COVID year, they had to test a lot of the players to see if they had any sort of, heart palpitations, like these problems with them. He got tested, and they found one of these things in him. They found like heart problems, and then so he was this guy who had started as a freshman, but then there's been weird stuff popping up. Like there's like a quarterback. I think a quarterback started in front of him his sophomore year, but then he regained the job junior year, and then this year he gets a new coach. He decides not to transfer. And then in the offseason, he finds out that he's got this heart palpitation, and so he needs to go get surgery. He goes and gets surgery, and then his job gets taken away from him. He decides not to transfer, even though his job gets taken from him. But then the first game of the year, the starting quarterback, I believe it was Chandler Morris, so he was the transfer from SMU with Sonny Dykes, the head coach. So obviously he's going to prefer his quarterback that he had for forever. And then all of a sudden, Chandler Morris is hurt, Max Duggan comes in, and now he's like third in the running for Heisman, and nobody thought Max Duggan could ever do this. So I'm rooting for that. I'm rooting for an incredible year for Max Duggan and the TCU Horned Frogs, even though I am a Texas fan. So give me TCU in that one.
He sounds pretty likable.
Yeah, he's a super likable guy, so I'm rooting for it. Next we have number 11 LSU versus number 1 Georgia. I was right and wrong about LSU, I totally underestimated them in the Alabama game. I should have known that they were going to arrive for that, but nevertheless, there was always something where I was like, LSU at 5? At 5, though? Like, are we sure? Like, I still remember that Florida State game. That was a little rough. Is there a chance the best freshman in the country causes havoc in this game? Meaning Harold Perkins, the outside linebacker for LSU. He is insane. Yes, there's very likely. But will it be enough to rip the SEC title out of Georgia's lap? Absolutely not. This Georgia team is really good, and if there's one thing that I've learned about this year's Georgia team, is that they show up in the big games. Maybe not in the non-important ones, like Georgia Tech last week was a little scary, and Missouri earlier in the year. But when they want to put it on, man, they will put it on a team like Tennessee. They will put it on a team like Oregon.
Does Georgia have a loss this year?
No, undefeated.
No, I didn't think so.
Yeah, so they are one of, I don't want to say because I honestly can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's just them and Michigan at the top.
I thought so.
Next, I guess I should have led with these ones because these ones are kind of like the okay ones. This one actually does not have playoff implications. We have number 10, Clemson versus number 24 UNC. This one's kind of a toss-up. I mean, Clemson is, I'd say, probably the better overall team, and I think has the more likely chance of winning. But that being said, I'm a big Drake May fan. I really, really like. He's the quarterback at UNC. I think that he's really good, and DJ Uiagalelei cannot perform up to Drake May standards like he did with Sam Hartman back in like week 7, where he fooled all of us. Oh, DJ U's actually here. Oh, then the Clemson's making the playoff because XYZ.
Can you spell his last name?
I cannot spell it, but I can at least. Yeah. I think I can say it. So, his confidence is shot, and I just think that. UNC can cause real problems with their offense against Clemson's defense. Because Clemson's offense, it's like they just pick a week where they only put up like 10 points. But I like their defense. It's kind of a toss-up, but I'm going to go UNC in this one. I don't really know. And then finally, save the worst for last, I guess. But number 2, Michigan versus Purdue. This is a perfect Purdue spot, which is funny because that's always what happens. Is these top-ranked teams always meet up with Purdue. And then Purdue ruins whatever happens. But I think that Michigan's probably a lock for the playoff, especially beating Ohio State, even if they lose this one. Which, man, that is a weird situation. But what are they going to do? Put in Ohio State over? It's a whole thing. But I think Michigan can probably even sleepwalk through this one and win it. The Big Ten West was atrocious this year. It wasn't even funny. And Michigan's going to win because there's nobody in the West. Like, they were literally, like, battling to lose this Big Ten West championship spot. So,
are you not a big Michigan fan? So, I just have to say this. You wrote here, this is a big turd game. Well, normally we talk about 2 teams that are not good in turd bowls.
I know.
Obviously, Michigan.
I like Michigan. I like this year's Michigan team. I guess I shouldn't have said that this was kind of a turd bowl game, but it's just like, when all the other games I feel like are... Because here's the thing about Clemson and UNC. Although it doesn't have playoff implications, it's at least, I think it's going to be fun. I honestly don't know who's going to win that game.
Right.
With this one, I feel like it's just kind of a sleeper fest. Like, Michigan's probably going to win like 42 to like 10. It's something like that. Like, Purdue, there's no way that they can even come close. But that being said, just with Purdue's history, who knows,
Right.
Yeah. So, as of right now, my college football playoff looks like Georgia at number 1, Michigan at number 2, TCU at number 3, USC at number 4, number 5 is Ohio State, and number 6, I hate it, but Bama's got to be there,
Is there any chance Bama gets up there?
No, at least not to me. No. I'm trying to think of a route, but I just don't. Even if like let's say TCU and USC both lose, I would still probably pick. I'd pick Ohio State to go in, and I'd still probably pick TCU to go in over Bama, because I think Bama. Here's the thing. We always factor in like at which point in the season the wins are. But I think that with a lot of it, it's not BS, but I think I called for it on the pod, and I hope I did, because I'm going to sound like an idiot right now. People are going to say that they don't believe me. But I was calling for, I know I picked Tennessee over Georgia, but that was like the first week that I actually started joining the Tennessee hype train, because for a long time before that, I was just like, Tennessee is a really good offense, but their defense is paper. Like, they really are not that good on... I mean, I was getting sick of the 2019 LSU comparisons to this Tennessee team, and I was like, can we stop it with that? Like, they're a really good offense. It's not that team. I thought the win over Alabama was great, but we also know, like, Alabama wasn't that great. I mean, Texas was 8-4, and Texas was probably 2 plays away from beating them. Texas A&M is 4-8 this year, and Alabama needed to get a last-second stop with 4 yards to go against Texas A&M to even win it at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So I just think with a lot of that stuff, yes, Alabama deserves to be right at 6 because they have 2 losses. They're both fairly okay losses, but we're learning more about Tennessee and LSU. That like LSU's number 11. And I think Tennessee is either like 8 or something. Like, that's where they really belong. They're not like if Bama's loss was to Georgia and Tennessee, I'd feel much better about having them at 6 because it's like, okay, probably nobody's going to beat Georgia this way. That's probably my national title pick because they're just too good. But right now it's like, okay, you lost to like 2 good. They're very good SEC teams, but they're not necessarily.
If Texas can almost beat your program, I mean, you're probably not that
Exactly.
good anyway, right?
Exactly. Here's the thing though. Happy about the 8-4 season. Good job, Sark. We're happy about that. If I had to pick how I think it's going to pan out after this week, I'm a little worried about the USC loss, and I think if you put a gun to my head, I think I would go Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and Ohio State at number 4. I think Ohio State can sleep in there because they're not going to make the championship game because Michigan's there, but we're going to see like an Alabama-like thing happen because both Michigan and Ohio State are still really, really good teams. A lot of people coming after that Michigan-Ohio State game were just like, oh, Ohio State sucks. That's not the case. I mean, I think we overrated maybe their quarterback a little bit, as this is an anti-CJ Stroud podcast, but I think that's what's going to happen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I told you so. Beginning of the year. Go back. Probably the first episode? Probably. Let's hope so. Caleb Williams was my Heisman pick, and I don't know if you remember me mentioning earlier, but Caleb Williams right now is a very, very large odds-on favorite.
He's thugging out right now.
I believe he's at something like, I don't know, I saw it on Instagram, but it was like minus 2,000. Cut this. 1, 2. I think I saw it on Instagram or something, but he's at like minus 2,200. Man, I'm really like brain just stopped right now. Is it 2,200?
Are you thinking of odds before the season?
Is this number 20? Hold on. Is this number 2,200, or am I just being insane? Yeah. Okay. Because I feel weird being like 2,200 and
2,200.
Okay. I believe I saw on some sort of metric that they had, it was posted on Instagram or maybe it was Twitter, that Caleb Williams is now a minus 2,200 odds-on favorite to win the Heisman. So, no biggie or anything, but I kind of got the one that mattered. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't really get the one that mattered, but still, that is really good, and I'm really happy about it. He has been playing awesome lately, and I'm doing a little bit of is he just a college quarterback, or is he somebody next year that could be like the number 1 pick? I tend to lead towards the number 1 pick thing, but what do I know? I also believe Drake May is coming out of the class. See, people are really excited about this year's class for the NFL. I love next year's class. That's the one where I get really, really excited because I think Caleb Williams
would that be Quinn Ewers next year, or is that the?
I think Quinn actually would be eligible, and if he gets his footwork
would
right,
he be Mr. Irrelevant?
Listen, buddy. The first half of the year, it was like real legit stuff. And I've been hearing rumors that there's like an underlying injury we haven't been hearing about. I'm not going to get into Quinn Ewers' draft stock. Listen, all I'm saying is, I was right about the Caleb Williams thing, all right? So you tell me about the NFL. We're going to cut the NBA and
it
college
seems
basketball
like
stuff.
Both of our bold predictions before the season in like the first episode are like coming to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Because mine with Jalen Hurts, you just
I
had
know.
to bring that up too.
I know, we're really spot on with the player predictions.
But for a while there, it really wasn't look like the Caleb Williams one was doing well. Because, I mean, I know you're a big non-CJ Stroud believer.
Mm-hmm.
That was a weird way to say that. But you don't like CJ.
I don't, and I never liked him for the Heisman. And he just kept on creeping up. He just kept on having these really good games. He's choosing the exact right time to put on a show.
Exactly.
He's figuring it out.
Who cares about the beginning of the season if you can pull
That's
it out
right.
at the end?
That's right.
Doesn't matter how you start, it matters how you finish. But
Mm-hmm.
all right, for NFL, I went 2 for 3 not last week, but it was 2 weeks ago at this point now. Chiefs beat the Chargers in a nail biter there. Mahomes with the game-winning drive, as usual. It seems like he just can do that anytime he wants.
Just easy peasy.
Niners beat the Cardinals in Mexico City. And Jimmy G had like a pretty good game that week, which was interesting. I started him. It's like the week that I started him in fantasy. he pops off. So I was like, thank you.
There you
Whatever.
go.
I was really worried about that.
Well, as soon as I trade you Aaron Jones, he's been playing really well.
I know,
So,
right?
Yeah, pretty great stuff, man.
And just want to
Definitely
point out,
not on a 2-game losing streak.
I was just gonna say that you were on a 2-game losing streak as after that trade. So
I know.
and then I'm on a 2-game win streak. So who
Listen,
won
man.
that Tyreek trade? You know?
Listen, hey, Tyreek wasn't a buy for all of us. You gotta factor that in.
But and then the Cowboys blew out the Vikings that week. That was that 40-3 loss that they had at home.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
At home, losing 40-3 is pretty surprising.
Frauds. I don't know.
Listen, buddy.
Maybe.
When we started off the year, you were like, Minnesota's not. What? They're like 8-2 or 9-2 right now. Like they're okay.
I was wrong about them not winning the division, of course, because I was
exactly.
my biased opinion.
Another thing I was right about.
I know. I'll admit that I was wrong, but I am 28 for 39 on my picks this year, 71.79 CPP. I went down, but we'll
Listen,
see.
buddy. Listen.
We'll see how this finishes out this year if I can hang on to
Just
my
get
lead.
to
You know.
these games.
But like we've been saying, it doesn't matter how you start; it matters how you finish. So you could go, 5 for 5.
You know what?
4 for 4.
That's
in
a
the next
great
couple
point.
weeks.
That's
We'll
a great point.
But-
I will go 5 for 5.
Of this Titans-Eagles matchup. Titans are 7-4. Eagles are 10-1. This will have huge implications on the playoff picture. The Titans, for whatever reason, just didn't show up last week against the Bengals. I mean, Derrick Henry, we all know he's amazing, and like you can almost count on him for like 80 yards, 90 yards, 100 yards, and then probably like a couple receiving yards, a touchdown each week.
Mm-hmm.
He did not show up last week. For whatever reason, the Bengals' run defense just stuffed him. And you don't really think highly of the Bengals' defense. I don't, at least. So it's just another one of those weird, random Derrick Henry doesn't show up games, and you just have no explanation for it. It's just so weird how that just happens like twice a year.
Yeah.
That was one of them. Just because that happened last week, I don't think this will happen this week against the Eagles, even though their defense is just amazing too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Titans.
Well, have they brought out Ndamukong yet? Because that was
Yes.
That was okay.
Yes, I believe I want to say he had a sack on Aaron on Sunday night, but I could be wrong about that. I know he did get a couple of pressures on there because they were talking about it on the broadcast. But anyways,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, this Eagles rush attack. Like, I don't know if it's just that the Green Bay just sucks or they're just amazing. Probably a bit of both. 365 rushing yards against Green Bay. Jalen Hurts had 102 rushing yards in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I thought for sure he was going to break the rushing record that game, but he finished, I think it was like 155. But man, like, it's just hard to defend for any team, and I don't think the Titans will be able to do it. I don't know if any team can really defend him this year, just in general. And then, like we've been saying, the Eagles' defense as well is just great with Sue and Cox, and then Brandon Graham. I wrote down here, Kaiser White. Just, I don't know how you get after that type of defense with just Derrick Henry, because that's how the Titans' offense is going to have to roll. So
That's a really good point. Yeah,
I'd have to go Eagles 27, Titans 21 in this one.
I agree.
I feel like that's fair, and this is in Philly too. So
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe this is
Crazier
a trap
things have
game.
happened. Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, that's my pick for that. The next game, Chiefs Bengals. This is in Cincinnati. A little bit of a rematch of that AFC Championship game. This is in Cincinnati. Like I said, I think wasn't that AFC Championship game in Kansas City? I want to say it was.
Yeah.
I believe it was.
Yeah, it had to have been. Yeah.
But yeah, this is another one with huge implications on specifically the AFC playoff picture. And like I was saying, the Bengals defense kind of showed up against Derrick Henry last week, but that's just a running back. This time they're going to have to go up against probably the MVP. I feel like it'll be a close one, but I feel like Mahomes would just I think it'll probably come down to like another comeback for Mahomes where like he gets like a really nice pass to Kelsey on like a quarter out for a field goal, a game-winning field goal.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Joe Burrow, he's been on it this year. He's been on and off this year, I want to say. And they mostly run through their pass attack. I know they got Joe Mixon in there, but I think he's hurt. I believe so.
Yeah.
We'd have to check that. But if he's still hurt, then they're just going to only have to pass the ball, and I just don't know if they'll be able to keep up with.
Well, and there's something to remember about Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, is that he's like top 5 always in blitz attack. And so he's going to be coming at Joe Burrow and that mediocre offensive line a lot.
Exactly.
So if Joe Mixon is out, you're 100% right. They're going to have a lot of trouble trying to pick up anything on this really, really good Chiefs team.
But maybe they'll just have to dial up some quick passes for Burrow to get out there so he's not in that pocket for so long. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that AFC Championship game will just get to Mahomes' head in this one. And I think he'll just want to stick it to Joey B after last year. I know
That's probably right, yeah.
I know he had his sights set on that championship last year, and obviously didn't go his plans. So I'm going to go Chiefs in this one, 30, Bengals 27. I really like that matchup, but Chiefs all the way for this one.
I agree.
The next game, I'm actually really, really excited about this next game. I feel like it has the chance for the game of the year. Dolphins versus Niners in San Francisco. On both sides of the NFL, for NFC and AFC, just like we said with the Titans and the Eagles game, huge implications. I think this should be the Sunday Night Football game. Like,
you think it's better than Colts and Cowboys?
Surprisingly enough.
No,
wow.
Really?
Like,
that's crazy. I really wanted to watch 55-year-old Matt Ryan throw the football around while Micah Parsons makes him consider retirement at halftime.
I don't want to be like so over dramatic, but like the matchups in this game make me think that it could be like a Super Bowl preview. I don't want to make any like.
You know what? I agree.
Like they're both teams on the rise. I'm pretty sure the Dolphins are 4 wins in a row, and the Niners are 5 wins in a row, or it might be vice versa. One of those.
Dolphins are real this year. That's for sure.
For sure, and like obviously that matchup will be the one like the Dolphins offense versus the Niners defense because they're both top of the league in their respective categories. So
kind of a Tennessee Georgia thing going on right here.
Right, in a way. So like I said, both teams are just hot. The Dolphins can just throw up 30 points on the board just like that. They've been doing it for 4 weeks in a row. And then the Niners, they just come off a shutout. And I saw a stat, the Niners have not allowed a single second half point in 4 weeks.
That's pretty impressive.
That's crazy.
That's pretty impressive.
I mean, to do that in the second half is just impressive. So I love this game, everything about it. The stars in it, Tyreek, Bosa, Tua, Eric Armstead. Like I said, matchup of the season. Cut this. I need to figure out what I'm going to say. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I think it's the other side of the ball that this matchup will come down to. The Niners offense versus that Dolphins defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that Kyle Shanahan and some of those stars on the Niners offense are going to be able to like kind of take advantage of the Dolphins defense. The Dolphins have Xavier Howard on there, but I just don't know if that's enough to just like he'll be on Debo most of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But with McCaffrey and Kittle and everything that they do with that rush attack,
Niners got a lot of weapons.
And like they can figure out ways. I'm not a big Jimmy G fan, but I think they can figure out ways to keep him out of situations where he makes mistakes, dial up some easy plays for him. I just think Niners will tough it out in this one because they're a really, really tough football team just in general. I hate them, but I love them. I wish they were my football team. I wish they were the Packers. But anyways, I'm going to go Niners 24, Dolphins 23 here just because defense wins championships.
Interesting.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins also, like...
I'm taking the Dolphins in this one. I like... Because this is like a perfect Niners... Are they really that good spot? Like, because it seems like they always do that. Like, they get on a roll. Like, they started the year, what? They were like below 500 for like a good amount of time. Now they're up to 7-4, which is obviously... They're a very good team, but I think we kind of overrate the Shanahan thing a little bit. Just a little bit. Not to say that's bad because he is a really brilliant offensive guy, but
I might just have a bit more confidence in the Niners offense than a lot of other people. Like,
well, and wasn't Mike McDaniel the offensive coordinator for the Niners? This is kind of like a rematch. It was kind of like a
student versus the master.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we'll see. But
interesting.
like, maybe that's another point to where you could say the Dolphins will win because, like, Mike McDaniel will just know how Shanahan's offense works. But yet, I don't know if Shanahan will necessarily know Mike McDaniel's.
But maybe he'll know how
scheme
to
and
defend
everything
it.
like
So
that.
now I'm almost going with a 9. Ooh.
It's
NFL,
tough.
fix your system, man. I don't want to watch Colts and Cowboys. I
This-
want to watch
3:30. 3:30.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, this could be the Monday night game or the Sunday night game. I would love that.
I would love it
Like-
like Monday night slot.
Whatever. And then also, I just want to mention, it is Packers versus Bears week. I would have loved to talk with Jordan, our old pal, about
I know,
this 'cause
seriously.
he's our fellow Bears fan.
Kind of a quitter. We're calling
I
him
know.
on the pod.
He quit on us this week, but it's alright.
I mean, I only left for an interview when I was sick. I mean, this guy is just like, get me out of here. Unbelievable.
But yeah, this like is going to be a really interesting game. I don't know if it's going to be Trevor Siemian versus Jordan Love. I don't know if it's going to be Aaron Rodgers versus Trevor Siemian. I don't know if it's going to be Rodgers versus Justin Fields. Who the heck is going to be the quarterback for both of these teams? Whatever.
That's really what makes this game. It becomes fun if it's Rodgers and Fields. If it's Simeon versus Love, it's almost like, all right, who cares? Like, not that who cares. But
I do just want to say I loved what I saw out of Jordan Love late in that Eagles game. I was just rambling to you before the podcast and everything. He looked precise, accurate. He seemed confident in what he was doing. It seemed like he was the one who was working with those wide receivers before the season rather than Rodgers. Just to try to get in sync with them and everything. I almost want to see Love because I don't
That's
want to
crazy.
see more of Rodgers in it.
That's
Like,
crazy.
I've seen him enough, and I know where this is going to go. If Rodgers is in there, I'm going to think that, oh my God, we still have a chance at the playoffs. And I know we really don't. But if Love's in there, I can just accept the fact that, okay, this season's done. Let's just move on to next year, and I want to see what Love has in store for the future because he is the future.
I think that kind of makes sense.
I'm just over Aaron and everything about that. So I guess that's why I want Love in. But anyways, the Packers.
If C.J. Stroud falls to the Packers at number 15, do you pick him up? I don't know where
Right
his
now-
stock is going. Do you
right
pick
now-
Anthony Richardson, quarterback from Florida?
Right now, I'd probably take Stroud. But if Love performs like he did late in that Eagles game, and that's no like cakewalk to
It's a tough team.
come in. It's a tough team, and he gave Green Bay a chance in that game. We scored a touchdown. We were down by 7 with 9 minutes to go. All the defense needed to do was get a stop, and Jordan Love has a chance to tie the game. So and then we know how it ended up. But anyways,
It's a pretty good spot for Jordan. It's a
Right.
the defense. The Bears' defense is pretty middle of the pack, so it's like you'll get to see it for what it is. It's not. He's not playing. It's a bad example because obviously last week it seemed like he performed pretty well against the Eagles, and it's not something like as bad as, let's say, I'm trying to think. Give me one. Who's got a bad defense right now in the NFL? Does the Dolphins? I mean, I feel like Cardinals, perfect example. Like if he plays the Cardinals defense, or like the Raiders defense, and he performs well, then everybody's just gonna say, whatever. But if it's the Bears defense, who, like I said, just middle of the pack, just like stagnant right there, and Jordan Love goes out and has a good performance, I'd be hopeful as a fan of Jordan, as a fan of the Packers, but
It's the
I
perfect
also know.
spot for a storyline to be built that, okay, is he the future of the Packers if he performs really well this week against the Bears? So, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I would probably pick Packers either way just because this Bears team, I don't want to say they've given up without Fields. If Fields isn't in there, they're just not fun to watch. Like, they had those first 2 drives in that game that seemed well, and Simeon seemed to be passing well, but it was like he just gave up afterwards.
It's Trevor Siemian.
Yeah, it's Trevor Siemian. I don't really know what else you expect from him.
It completely limits your offense.
Exactly.
Especially
So,
when you have a guy like Justin Fields back there, you know.
Exactly. I will say if Fields plays, this will be a really tough matchup for Green Bay to defend because obviously they can't do anything against running QBs.
Just
Exactly.
just proved.
But I'm going to have to go Green Bay in this one, 24, Bears 17. And that's assuming that Fields isn't going to be playing.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out.
But if he plays, who knows?
If he plays, they might get their first win against Green Bay since 2018, I believe.
Man, that is... Division. Personally, the Packers-Bears rivalry is a little overrated. It's a little...
That's a hot take.
It's a little like...
Well, okay. Why?
Because you guys have dominated the Bears for like forever.
But it's still fun.
Let me use an example. Duke versus UNC basketball. Every year, it's like, no matter who's better, any situation, like, it's always going to be split 1-1 on the season. And, like, I just expect that. And we're probably going to run each other into either the tournament or like we did for the first time ever in the NCAA tournament. I shouldn't have even talked about it. But, like, there's always a team that just barely scrapes by, you know? Packers and Bears, it's like, Packers are 39-10 in their last... amount of games. It's like, okay.
Maybe
like,
that's why.
What a rivalry this is.
Maybe
really.
that's why internally I love it so much because I mean it's just an easy
of course,
win on the calendar
exactly
against our rivals. I mean whatever.
Like maybe in like 2 years it'll be really fun because it's like Justin Fields and the Bears are finally putting it together and the Packers are slowing down with Jordan Love as their QB. Like.
I will say just last thing. I think the Bears have an opportunity to actually be good next year because they have double the cap space of any other team in the NFL. So they're going to be spending big on defense. And then Fields, he's looked great this year. He had a bad start, but he's really turned into something real.
He's my favorite quarterback out of that recent draft class.
I think he is a lot of people's.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they have an opportunity to earn a wild card spot next year.
Man, that's crazy. Coming from the Packers.
I'm just saying.
Packers Nation, clip that.
Just coming from a Packers fan, I think the Bears have a chance. So,
yeah. Well, that'll be it for us. This, once again, has been episode 11 of the Inside Sports Podcast, as with the DE capitalized. I'm your host, Cole. It's my co-host, Joey. Please be sure to follow us on Spotify. Go ahead and give us a... Pretty sure you can like on Spotify. I'm pretty sure I've been saying that. So that'd be bad if I couldn't be doing that. But anyways, YouTube, please subscribe, hit the bell, and give us a like on that too. Thank you once again. See ya.